What's up, YouTube? Your boy back once again with another sport topic, and today we're going to talk some football. Houston Texans football. We almost here. We are less than a month away from the season opener versus the Kansas City Chiefs. So it's time to start getting some videos out there. It's time to start getting people back hyped about football. It's time to start getting some more content out there. So let's talk about it, because I want to talk about a specific position today, and that is the running back position. And I'm not going to lie to you. I am extremely concerned about the running back position. I'm more concerned about this position than any other position on this team. And that's saying a lot, because y'all know how I am about the secondary, especially the corners. I am more concerned and more worried about the running back position than I am about the secondary and even the corners. That's how much worry I am about this running back position. So we're going to talk about it, explain exactly why I have caused the pause for this whole running back situation. Everybody knows what we've done. We traded away D-Hop and brought in David Johnson. And if this was 2016 David Johnson, when he rushed for 1,200 yards and caught for over 800 yards and rushed for 16 touchdowns and caught for 4 touchdowns, so he had a total of 2,000 yards and a total of 20 touchdowns, cool. All-pro type player, cool. You insert that in with Deshaun Watson and the rest of these weapons, man, our offense is going to be on fire. I know a lot of people hype about that, and that's the possibility that people are thinking about. But that's not the case, because last time we seen him on the field, he had barely over 300 yards. Let me say exactly. He had 94 carries for 345 yards, averaging only 3.7 yards per carry and 2 touchdowns. Now, catching up the backfield, he caught 36 catches for 370 yards for an average of 10.3 yards per catch, and had 4 touchdowns out of the backfield catching as a receiving threat. So he was more valuable catching the football last year in Arizona than he was running the football last year in Arizona. So we're going to talk about some pros, some cons, some things he can bring to the offense, and some things that reason why we have the concern. So we're going to talk about some of the good things first, and things that are leaning in David Johnson's favor. For one, offensive line. Now, the Texans, we know Texan fans, we talk about the offensive line, we talk about Deshaun Watson sack numbers for the longest, but this offensive line is more solidified now than it's been in the past recent years. You know, with Larry Tunsil as your left tackle, you drafted Tyus Howard, you drafted Max Sharpton. Both of those players looked at well their rookie year. Nick Martin came along better last year, being a Pro Bowl alternate. I mean, we still have some question marks about Zach Fulton, but this offensive line is better than Arizona's offensive line, because even without Larry Tunsil, even when the Texans' offensive line was extremely bad, it was still better than Arizona's. Arizona's offensive line is putrid. It is straight hard to run through. It is a horrible offensive line. And so he's going to have a benefit of playing under the best offensive line he's played for his career so far. 2, he has a quarterback like Deshaun Watson. Now, I know he had I know he had Kyler Murray last year, but Kyler Murray is now on Deshaun Watson's level. Even though he is a running threat like Deshaun Watson, and I think that Kyler Murray has probably one of the fastest feet, because when he runs, it's like a cartoon character the way those feet move. But I think Deshaun's a more elusive, as a better running threat, and also we already know exactly what he could do throwing the football. And also the receivers, with Kenny Stills and Will Fuller and Brandon Cooks and Kiki and Randall Cobb, with the speed that the Texans have on the outside, especially also on the inside when you factor in putting Stills in the inside and also putting Kiki in the inside as well, which I've heard a lot of good things about Kiki during training camp so far. That when you add all that in, those boxes are not going to be loaded. Those are not going to be loaded boxes that David Johnson. So David Johnson is going to be playing in an offense with a better offensive line that opened up bigger holes than it was in Arizona. More speed on the outside, so defensive coordinators and defensive backs will not load this box up, because they can't afford to allow Stills and allow Cooks and allow Will Fuller to go down deep. They just can't afford that, especially talking about Cooks and Fuller. So you can't afford that. So those boxes are not going to be loaded up. Part of the reason why Carlos Hyde was able to rush for over 1,000 yards last year. And also, you got Deshaun Watson. Running backs play better under Deshaun Watson than they do under other quarterbacks. I mean, you think about even though I talked about Lamar Miller, but Lamar Miller looked it better with Deshaun Watson in Houston than he ever did the other 2 years he played, because Deshaun Watson was able to open them up some more because of the play style of Deshaun Watson. Same reason why Carlos Hyde had a career year last year, first time he had 1,000 yards, because Deshaun Watson opens up that because defense have to watch the quarterback. He's a mobile threat and he's accurate with throwing the football as well. So you have to account for all those things. So he's not just a statue sitting back in the pocket. So because of that, I do think that's going to open up some things more for David Johnson that was not opened up in Arizona because the offensive line's going to be able to block for him. You have Deshaun Watson that's a dual threat quarterback, and then you have all the speed on the outside. So David Johnson, more than likely, is going to be the last person that the defense has to worry about because you worry about Deshaun Watson, you worry about the speed with the receivers. So that's going to be a benefit for David Johnson. But let's talk about the reason why I have a concern with David Johnson. Now, like I said, back in 2016 when he had the career year, when he was an All-Pro, the following year, 2017, he got hurt the first game of the season and missed the rest of the season. The second year, he come back, he had like 900 and some yards. He had 940 yards off of 258 carries and only averaged 3.6 yards per carry, 7 touchdowns. He came off that, and then last season, like I said, he only had 345 yards. When you watch the tape and you put the tape on, he doesn't run right. And I know I talked about Lamar Miller. I said Lamar Miller had bad vision. When it comes to David Johnson, it's like he's skittish, like he's scared to run, which is weird because the year he got hurt with a wrist injury. He broke his wrist. He didn't hurt nothing with his knees or with his ankle or anything like that. He hurt his wrist. He broke his wrist and was gone for the rest of the season. So you would think that his running style should be exactly the same, but it's not. He runs through the hole scared, like he doesn't want to hit the hole. Now, could this possibly be because Arizona has a bad offensive line? Like I said, the Texans offensive line should open up holes better than Arizona did. But even saying that, I don't have confidence that he's gonna run like through the holes right. I'm not confident he's gonna run through the hole forcefully. He's gonna just and get going. And he's a big guy. Like when you look at David Johnson, you're like, okay, our short line, our short yardage, our goal line situations, we should be able to be money. We get in the red zone, we should be able to get money to score because we got Deshaun Watson and we got this dude because he's a big, solid dude. So we should be able to get in and be able to score touchdowns easily. But I don't think so because of the way he runs. And like I said, I don't know if it's a mental thing or what it is because if you look at his tape in 16, he's all-world, all-pro. If you look at his tape for the last 2 years, it's like he doesn't want to run. And even though he's been a threat out the backfield as catching the football, some of those catches were really like, I mean, he was wide open because he was wide open. Kyler Murray just found him, and he just catches the football and didn't get hit. It's not really he does anything after he catches the football for the most part, but he has been effective out of the backfield, and that is a plus. So that's my reason to concern when it comes to David Johnson. Like, will he be able to run the football correctly? And also, how do we utilize him? Because to me, he seems like an upgrade over Lamar Miller. He's what you thought Lamar Miller should be. When you look at his 16 tape, he's what you think Lamar Miller should have been. But when you look at the last 2 years, you're like, I don't know what this is. Definitely not a guy worth the money, and definitely not a guy worth being trading Hopkins for. And even his career year in 2016, I still wouldn't trade Hopkins for him. But I'm just saying, at least you can talk me into that benefit. And I know I seen the tape that the Texans put out about how he's doing well during training camp, and they showing the film on Instagram when Deshaun hands him the football, he runs through the defense, and everybody's like, oh yeah, zooming and stuff like that. And it's not impressive to me. I'm gonna be honest with you, it's really not, because the defense was just standing there. It wasn't like the defense, like they had on pass, but they weren't trying to tackle. So it wasn't like they were really like. Now I haven't seen them scrimmage or anything like that, and that's part of the reason why not having joint practices and not having a preseason is probably detrimental to some of these players. But I want to see more. I want to see this against live action, and it's a shame that we won't get to see it until September 10th against the Kansas City Chiefs. Like we won't see this in action until less than a month from now. So we didn't get a chance to preseason. We didn't get no joint practices. I would like to see exactly how he looks in this offense before the season opener, and it's kind of hard to see that. So that's one of our running backs. Our next running back is Duke Johnson. guy we had last year. Now, Duke Johnson last season had 83 carries for 410 yards. Already has more rushing yards than David Johnson, for an average of 4.9 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. And he caught 44 catches for 410 yards, more yards than David Johnson, for 9.3 yards per catch and three receiving touchdowns. So now, the thing about Duke is a slot receiver playing running back. It is what it is. Duke is a slot receiver playing running back, and that's fine. That's cool. Like he plays his position well. I mean, we had no complaints out of Duke Johnson, even though he wasn't as productive as he normally is, like coming out of the backfield. Because it was one year in Cleveland, he had 693 yards back in 2017. Now, and nobody blames Duke Johnson. Same thing with Kenny Stills. Kenny Stills wasn't as productive as you thought he should be, but nobody blames Kenny Stills. We blame that more so on Bill O'Brien. Now, hopefully, Tim Kelly changes that. I have my question marks. I'm kind of on the fence about Tim Kelly, more so because I've heard some things that Deshaun has said. I also found out, that Bill O'Brien would change the game plan on Friday. So that means that some of the stuff that maybe Tim and Deshaun wanted to do got left on the back burner. So that kind of is maybe a little bit more hopeful. But I'm kind of on the fence about it because he's been under Bill O'Brien for 8, 9, 10 years coaching on them. So he basically learned his coaching style from Bill O'Brien. So I feel it's still going to be some more of the same. I'm hopeful that it's going to be something different. And maybe with the speed that you have and now all these backs that you have that can catch out the backfield to do a lot of their damage out the backfield, hopefully your offensive philosophy has changed a little bit some. But in saying that, I do believe that Duke is a person who could be very effective. But he's more so of a slot receiver playing running back. Yeah, you can run the ball. And I want him to run the ball also to keep the defense honest. But he's going to do most of his damage out of the backfield. Now, he's more so of a receiving threat than a guy that you hitting the ball, getting the ball to run between the tackles. I don't want him to do too much of it. I want him to do some, but not too much because I think he's more effective catching the football out of the backfield. So that's my whole problem with Duke. And that's not really my problem with Duke. Duke is just not a guy who's going to be your number one running back. He's a guy who's going to be your secondary back, a guy that you throw in your third down back, the guy you throw in the slot. You do a lot of fun mismatches and a lot of fun formations. That's all cool. He's a weapon. That's exactly what Duke is. Duke is a weapon. Duke is not a guy you give him the ball to 20, 25 times a game. He's not. And that's cool. Like that's perfectly fine. But at the same time, you're going to need that capable guy. David Johnson should be that guy, but we don't know if he is because as of right now, what I've seen lately, he doesn't seem like a pure runner as of right now. Duke has capabilities, but that's not Duke's game. Duke's game is to do a little bit of both, probably more damage as a receiving threat, but he could do a little bit more. He's like a Swiss Army knife. He could do a lot of things. So a guy who I think is probably the best pure runner on the team is Karan Higdon. The rookie, he's a second-year guy. He's an undrafted free agent last year out of Michigan. And his last year in Michigan, he rushed for he had 224 carries for 1,178 yards, averaging 5.3 yards per carry, 10 touchdowns. Now he wasn't a threat out of the backfield as far as catching football. He only had 7 receptions for 43 yards. But he was a guy who was running the football effectively. He's run the football between the tackles effectively. And even showing last year during the preseason, it seemed like every time he touched the ball, he always gained yards. If it was 1 yard, 2 yard, 3, he's always falling forward. He was always getting yards. Kind of a little bit like Carlos Hyde, never really going down after. Because that's one thing about Carlos Hyde, especially in the beginning part of the season. He was never going down after first contact. He would get hit. It would always take second and third guy to get to him before he got down. Now, towards the end of the season, when the boxes start getting loaded up because we started having so many injuries with Will Fuller missing time and Steele missing time, and it started becoming back to the DeAndre Hopkins only show, and they started loading up the box a little bit more, he started slowing down some because at the beginning of the season, it was looking like Carlos Hyde was going to be, at the very least, a Pro Bowler last year, but that kind of tailed off towards the end. But Karan Higdon played that type of way. Now he got cut. He made the practice squad last year. wasn't on the full 53-man roster, on the main 53-man roster last year. But he has, in my opinion, has a lot of bit more style and more capability as far as a pure runner. which a guy I think you're going to need. And the thing about it is, again, no preseason, no joint practices, not really going to get a real legitimate chance to shine outside of just practicing against the guys. And you got to take everything in regular practice, in my opinion, with a grain of salt. Because is it your offense doing good, or is it your defense just bad? Is it your defense doing good, or is the offense just bad? It's not, you're not going up against other people when you can actually test what you're actually doing. You're not going up against nobody in a joint practice. You're not going up against nobody in a preseason game, which I think a lot of guys benefit and shine from. I think Karan Higdon wouldn't be able to benefit and shine for in that situation because, of course, right now in practice, you're going to give all your chances to David Johnson. You're going to give all your chances to Duke Johnson. You trade for both of them, for one, and you're paying David Johnson a lot of money. Karan Higdon is undrafted free agent. You're not paying him nothing. So he's not going to get, as far as practice comes, he's not going to get that much of a shot unless these other two guys are just wetting the bed. Now, the preseason and joint practices, everybody getting the shot because now you're getting everybody in, especially in the preseason game because you don't want to get some people hurt. So you're going to let younger guys get a little bit more chance to shine. And you're going to spot some things out like, hey, he was pretty well this whole game. We ended up giving him the whole first quarter. I mean, the whole second half, and he dominated. We might have to give him some more shine in practice. He's not going to get that same level of looks when it comes to in a regular practice against your regular guys. So that's the problem with Karan Higdon. But this is the thing, and I know we got other guys. I know you got Scottie Phillips, out the undrafted guy out of Ole Miss, and then you also got Buddy Howe. Buddy Howe's more so of a special teams guy. And because of the pandemic, because he's a rookie, and like I said, no preseason, no joint practices, Scottie Phillips is not really going to get that much of a shine and not that much of a shot right now. So those guys you're not really going to be dependent on them. The three guys, I think you're going to be dependent on the two Johnsons, David Johnson and Duke Johnson, and then also you're going to be not dependent, but you can see maybe Karan Higdon maybe getting some shot, maybe getting some love because I think Buddy Howe's more so of a special teams guy. I don't really see him as an actual running back that you utilize game in and game out. And the thing is, especially when it comes to David Johnson, the biggest thing, and again, I know he had offensive line issues, is he only averaged 3.7 yards a carry last year. And the year before that, it was 3.6. That is the thing that's extremely problematic because that's Lamar Miller. That's Lamar Miller territory. Lamar Miller had 1,000 yards. It would be the toughest 1,000 yards you ever get when he was only averaging like 3.8 yards a carry. You need your running back to average 4 or more yards. You really want him to average 4.5 to 5 yards a carry. Because if you average a 5 yards a carry, that's half a first down every time you touch the football. That's gravy. That's strictly money. But if you averaging 4.3, 4.4, that's good. 4.5, okay, now we're in a very, very good situation when you're averaging 4.5 or above. Anything under 4 is problematic, especially when you're talking about 3.6, 3.5. That's not good. And like the year that David Johnson played well, his All-Pro year, the 2016 season, when he averaged 4.2, and like I said, he averaged 4.6 in 2018, and then last year he averaged 3.7. Duke Johnson, on the other hand, averaged 4.9. Now again, I know a lot of Duke Johnson's carries on like spot up carries. They're not really like, you're not giving him the ball like I said 20-25 times a game. You're kind of keeping the defense honest a little bit, so they're not expecting to run. And that's the benefit with both Duke Johnson, and David Johnson, because they're so threats of the backfield, and you could have David Johnson on the field all the time. The defenses won't know, because most of the time when Duke Johnson gets on the field, the defense knows it's 75% chance it's going to be a passing play. 25% is going to be a run play, but 75% chance is going to be a passing play. With David Johnson, a defense is not going to know. So that's another thing that benefits with David Johnson. You don't know if it's going to be a running play. You don't know if it's going to be a pass play because he's a guy he can catch the football. Like with Carlos Hyde, when Carlos Hyde was on the field, it was probably 75% going to be a running play because he's more so of a running back than a pass catcher. He's not effective catching the ball. So either he's going to be running the football or he's going to be blocking. He's not a real legitimate option for receiving the football. With David Johnson, it's a 50-50. It's a pass, it's a run. It could be a pass designed for him. It could be a pass where everybody else is running these one routes, but the ball is definitely going to David Johnson in a nice little route. Same thing with Duke. So when it comes to those guys, especially now, and like I said, it depends on how Tim Kelly gets. He can be extremely creative where he can have both of them on the field, which definitely could open up the offense. If you tell me, especially if the offensive line plays better, and I think they will because it's going to be the first time since I think 2011, 2012, that's the exact same starting five as the previous year. So with that, if that starting five starts solidifying itself and starts blocking and playing well, and you don't have to use as many tight ends, now you can come out there with 4 or 5 wide receiver threats. Now you can come out there with both Duke and David Johnson out there, and you got Kenny Stills, and you got Will Fuller, and you got Brandon Cooks all out here, and you can do a lot of different things. Not to mention your quarterback is a dual quarterback, and you can do a lot of things with him as well. So it does open up the offense, and I understand for people who want to be hyped. I get it. I can see the vision when you talk about all these personnel moving around. But at the end of the day, do you have a guy who definitely could run the football when you need him to run the football? Because I remember the first time we played against Kansas City. Like I said, Carlos Hyde should have over 200 yards rushing. But his shirt kept on hurting because they was just holding on to his shirt. He was getting dragged. He left a lot of yards on the field. I know he had over 100 yards that day. He left over damn near 85 yards on the field because he needed a breakaway shirt. If his shirt was a breakaway shirt, Carlos Hyde would took a lot of those carries to the house. Things like that. When you're up 24-0, you need to be able to run the football to keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline. You need to keep Lamar Jackson on the sideline. You need to keep Aaron Rodgers on the sideline. You need to keep Derrick Henry on the sideline because that's what Derrick Henry going to do when you play against the Titans. He's going to keep Deshaun Watson on the sideline because they're going to run out that clock. Do you have that capability? Or are we just a strictly quick strike offense, boom, and give the ball right back? And that's cool when you're giving the ball back to Blake Bortles. That's cool when you give him the ball back to Gardner Minshew. That's cool when you give him the ball back to some of these other quarterbacks. But is that okay when you give him the ball back to Patrick Mahomes? Is that okay when you give him the ball back to Lamar Jackson? No, it's not. It's not. One, Lamar Jackson, baby, keep you on the sideline himself. Him and Mark Ingram. They're going to be able to keep you on the sideline. Now, where they just got KJ Dobbins out Ohio State, they be able to keep you on the sideline as well. So, can you run the football properly to keep other people on the sideline? Who's to know? We don't know just yet. We don't know exactly. Like I said, I have a lot of concerns about if David Johnson is going to be able to run the football the way he ran the football back in 2016. I don't think he is. Now, if we can be able to get him to rush for 1,200 yards and catch for almost 1,000 yards, 800 yards, something like that, cool. And like I said, he has a different set of offense now because he has Deshaun Watson, he has Will Fuller, he has Kenny Stills, he has all these different weapons. He has a better offensive line that is going to open up things more for him and is going to give him more capabilities. Not to mention, I think Duke himself is going to open things up because if they're both on the field at the same time, defense is going to think that Duke is more of a receiving threat than David Johnson is because, like I said, Duke is really a slot receiver playing running back. He's a slot receiver in a running back's body. So I think that defense will be dictated towards him, and that might leave David Johnson out there a little bit more. And I know David Johnson, he wants to prove the guys wrong. I know I'm not blaming him because he's in a situation that's kind of tough. He got traded for Hop. He didn't ask to get traded for Hop. He didn't say, hey, y'all need me, y'all need D-Hop. He didn't ask for that. So I know a lot of people calling him fan want to call him trash and things like that, and it's more so the angriness of losing Hop because I think if Hop was still here and say you got David Johnson as a free agent, I think everybody's cool about that. I think nobody is good, or if you like David Johnson, don't like David Johnson. I don't think nobody would say anything if David Johnson got cut by Arizona and you would have picked him up for a little of nothing. You picked him up for the same money that you offered Carlos Hyde. I think everybody would be cool with that situation. I still would grit my teeth, still thinking that you would possibly need a running back because I was looking at drafting a running back in the draft even after this trade. But you would feel a little bit more better. But now that he's focused, he's the guy. You trade away Hopkins, you're paying him with $12.5 million this year, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's the fourth highest paid running back this season. He's going to be he's the fourth highest running back being paid this season. He's getting paid more this year than Derrick Henry, who led the league in rushing last year, is getting paid. You're paying David Johnson more money than the Titans are paying the league leading rusher. Think about that. So you have to do something with that. Now he's a better receiving threat than he's a better receiving threat than Derrick Henry. But is he a better runner? No, he's not a better runner than Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry was a way better runner. Even in his best year, Derrick Henry is a better runner than David Johnson is. David Johnson is going to have to bring in a 1,300-yard season. Like it is what it is. If he has anything less than 1,300 yards rushing, that must mean he must have a complete total of 2,000 yards. Like he has to have. If he has 1,000 and 1,000, cool. But if he don't have 1,000 yards receiving, he has to have at least 1,300 yards rushing. And we need, like I say, 14, 15 total touchdowns. Now I do recommend, more likely, if you play fantasy football, to go ahead and sign him. Draft him, in your maybe late rounds, because he's going to get his opportunities. That's one thing. He's going to get his opportunities, but will he make the best out of it? I don't know. And I still just feel that at the end of the day, the Texans are still going to be looking for a running back leading in the next season. Like, subscribe if you haven't, comment below if you haven't, click that bell to get more videos. I holla.